Are we recording? Yeah. Oh, how cool. Hey, Rob, thanks so much for joining us today on a beautiful Friday evening. You are the first person in our sort of exec insight series.
How exciting.
So good to have you. And it's so good to have such a young, dynamic and fast moving exec to kind of tell us about your journey. So I'm going to dig into that in a little bit to get some of your insights, because they're pretty exciting, I think. And I haven't even told you what it's called. Do you want to have a guess?
I want to hear what the name is, because I know you're a bit of a creative spunk. So
it's going to be called Decanter Banter. So
awesome.
What's going to run through this is the beautiful themes which are around, your amazing experiences, but also about your love of wine, and hopefully get a little bit under the covers in some of your personal life as well. Cool. Whatever you're willing to share with us, anyway. Because this is only going out to about 20 million people live right now. Maybe not. And obviously you get to see the cuttings before we go live in this. So what I want to do, though, is get you to maybe tell us about your first wine experience.
First wine. Yeah. So I was probably pretty young. My old man used to always let us drink wine at the table, even when we were young. Yeah. So I was pretty lucky. We grew up, we had a little wine cellar. It used to be a converted photo studio that they used to do film in and produce it, but really dark room, was filled with wine. We used to take me in, we used to see stuff. And interestingly, our neighbor used to make wine, this old Italian fellow, in his own basement in Terry Hills. And so I was all immersed around it from a pretty young age. But then I started abusing it. So I had the words Gooner Night on my Year 12 jersey, and I was the dude that used to go to house parties carrying a wine cask of Fruity Lexia.
Awesome. Would the Italian guy next door have been quite annoyed that you've moved from Gooners from this amazing experience where you're drinking Amaronis and beautiful things that he's probably created?
His grave, yeah.
Antonio.
Yeah, exactly.
I refer to him as Antonio.
Yeah.
And so do you remember any of the wines that your dad sort of talked you through or got you to try? And was there any special ones that he sort of dusted off for you and said, hey, remember this wine? Remember how it tastes?
He definitely was a Shiraz guy.
Yeah.
So he was your big Barossa Shirazes, and he used to collect predominantly South Australian wines and wines from across Australia. I do remember there was a Grange, and that's the only time I've ever tried Grange in my life, was from him. It was some special occasion, and my brother brought home a girl who we didn't know, and it was supposed to be a family affair. And then Dad pops open the Grange, and this random that we've never met in our lives is there just drinking on it, going, hey, this is pretty nice.
Are you a bit annoyed at this point, thinking that little percentage could have been mine?
Yeah. But that's literally as highbrow as I've ever been, and that I probably peaked at 20. But yeah.
And did the girl stick around after the Grange?
We won't go into my brother's checkered relationship history.
Let's not mention it by name today. Anyway.
Exactly.
That sounds cool. And then obviously South Australia. Any other reasons why you think you identified with Shiraz?
I don't want to be too judgmental, but I reckon it's a pretty blokey older man thing to be into your big, bold Aussie Shirazes that hit you in your face. And I think over time, and maybe this is a journey I'll go on as I keep drinking wine, that, I will probably start going from the Pinots, which I love, and I'm starting to get into Grenaches, and then maybe over time the Shirazes will become my flavor.
Well, I think that's awesome. I think it's interesting, isn't it? I think you kind of fall in love with the things that you probably find reminiscent of something or an experience or whatever it might be. But I think it feels like in Australia we're definitely moving back towards wines that are not probably as viscous and strong and alcoholic and fruit forward. So I think it's kind of going to be an interesting take for you. Not quite sure about the Pinots unless you're into the big Burgundian ones, which I like. But I understand what you're doing there. Now, just want to let you know that I poured you a wine. So as you can see, I've covered it up here. I took the lid off at about 11 o'clock today. It's been sitting in the decanter for about 3 hours, just over 3 hours.
Okay.
And it's now, I think it's pretty ready to drink. Love to get you just to tell, I'm not trying to, look, I'd love you to share the world's best wine adjectives with me if you can. I don't know if you want to use cut grass or, umami or
plum.
All of that sort of stuff. Please feel free to use that. But tell me what you're getting when you smell the wine and taste the wine. I'll join you.
I was worried this was going to be like a hot sauce podcast, so this is good.
This is I'm not going to be burning you. There's no shoju in this one.
Firstly, it's pretty rounded, The tannins are like soft. It's
soft,
like, pretty silky.
Yeah. How do you know whether tannins are soft? Is it do something in your mouth?
Yeah, it's how it coats your mouth and the lingering of it in your mouth as well. It's dark.
It is dark.
So that points me towards a few different varieties. I don't want to guess yet.
You don't want to guess yet. I'm going to give you some tips. Unless you feel
this whole decanter to get through.
Yeah, we've got this whole thing to get through.
Marinate on
you
this.
did get an Uber, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
You can marinate. There is no penalty for going early if you want to. But I'm going to give you a few tidbits. Feel free to keep tasting it. Just tell me.
It's delicious, by the way.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah,
good.
it's yummy. This isn't goon.
It's good. This is not good. Actually, that's the brand of it. How did you know? He's got it. He guessed it straight away. That's ridiculous. So in terms of the anything about the smell that gets you, like you talked about Grenache before. Yeah. So the reason why I'm asking about the smell, I just want to see, how would you compare that smell with a normal Grenache that you would, you like?
Is it a Grenache? Did I get it wrong? And it's a Grenache, and you're pointing me down a path.
I'm not pointing you.
Really helpful.
I might be putting you down a cul-de-sac, but let's see.
Yeah, so I do get like a kind of dark bouquet of like fruits. I would say like it's probably more on the like dark cherry, dark plum, like profile.
Yeah,
I think I don't want to say a variety because I know I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm going to keep taking hints from you over the next 20 minutes. And then I reckon by process of elimination, I'll get pretty close.
I've got a gut feel you do. I want you to think of 5 spices as your next smell. Okay. And see if that goes with you. Tell me about, how do you bring work home as you're coming home from Friday? Like, are you a deep planner?
I'm really bad. And I've just started to be better at this, which is, I know this sounds a bit strange or woo-woo, but I start to meditate now a little bit after work. So I try to do some like box breathing and take 5 minutes out or 10 minutes, whatever it is, just to swap. Because otherwise I'm texting, I'm constantly on, I'm messaging the team. We're in the US now as well, and we've got operations in different parts of the world. So you could be on 24 hours if you wanted to be. Yeah. And also, I love learning. And so I love absorbing content. So I'll come home and I'll start reading more content as well. Yeah. So I found just the chilling out, taking a moment, pausing, breathing, having that point of separation between work day and evening is super helpful and is probably making my wife enjoy our company a bit more as well.
That's really great that you do that. What was there a trigger on why you did that? Was it for your own mental health or?
Yeah, I was burning out. Yeah. I was like constantly just finishing work, using the 3 hours that you're awake after work to still be on, and then sleeping and rinse and repeat, and the kind of that constant cycle of not having that divergence between work and home was bad. And I was, my wife was calling me out on it. She was saying you're never present, etc. So it's something that I've
that's awesome. That's awesome that you've done that. Obviously, what counterbalances that is like, so when you lock up on Friday and you sort of make your path to the dog park, do you then sort of, put that all away? When do you restart? Are you restarting on Sunday night or are you restarting first thing on Monday morning? When do you restart?
Usually Sunday night, a little bit. And I think the bit that I'm enjoying now, and we won't go into too much, but the transition back into startup world is that I actually really enjoy thinking about it. And as I'm seeing ideas through the weekend and coming up with ideas when you have a bit of free thought, when you're running, surfing, doing whatever you do to enjoy your own time, those ideas I want to share with the team. And the founders are always on, and other members of the leadership team are always on as well in terms of, sharing ideas. And there's no kind of strict times on when we can and can't do that. So, so typically Sunday, but like, I am sharing stuff constantly and they're sharing things back, which is cool. And I don't lose energy from that in the same way that I probably did in the past in other roles.
So that, obviously your career sort of started off in, Deloitte, and then you went into, your own startup, then back to Deloitte, and then back into a startup.
Yeah.
Talk me through that process. Obviously you're now in a pretty dynamic, you're obviously chosen a couple of different paths, but you're now in a super dynamic role in a global organization. How does it, are you a startup guy or are you a big company guy?
Yeah, good question. I think I'm a startup guy.
Yeah.
I grew up watching my old man like build businesses. And he was a small business owner and built them and sold them and built them and sold them. And I kind of watched him go through that cycle as a young kid. And I got super inspired by that. So much so that, like, even when I was doing other things in my life, I used to play lots of tennis. I used to be in a little band. And even if those two things took off and did well, at my heart, I always wanted to just build a business and kind of live in that life. So when I was at Deloitte, I was enjoying it, and I was learning a huge amount and building a really good skill set. But I always kind of kept coming back to, like, how do I actually get out of this and build my own thing and bring it to life? So I was at Deloitte for about 3 or 4 years, and then went off and had a crack at my own startup. And that was cool. That was we built an experience booking platform similar to Airbnb experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A few years before those guys. And I remember we just stepped out to do it in 2016, just when Trump got elected. And I was in my living room, my co-founder, going, did we do the right thing? Like, did we just leave our jobs to go and start a business with this dude now running the world? But did that for a few years. Unfortunately, it didn't kind of turn into the thing we wanted it to. But learned a huge amount through the experience and built a team and built tech for the first time and took it to market. And learned probably the most valuable lesson that I hold on to today, which is, like, that humility of just being customer obsessed. And it doesn't matter how smart you are or what walk of life you come from or whether you work in whatever industry, having that kind of absolute obsession on customer and their needs. And the best way to learn that is to spend a year and your savings and all your effort on launching a product that doesn't land, to really, eat humble pie and go, shit, I've actually got to listen to the customers that I'm going to serve. So I did that, came back to Deloitte and started working on helping build their venture building practice. So that was a cool business. Yeah. The whole premise of that business was to go into either big corporates or work with startups and help them build and scale new businesses. So I helped build renewable energy business, which was super exciting. Did some stuff in health tech as well. And then started doing a lot more in climate change, actually helping either hard tech businesses that had solutions focused on solving really hard climate challenges, helping them get their technology to scale, or working on other platform-based businesses as well and helping them scale as well. And then interestingly, one project I had was 2 doctors, and they came in, and it was early 2020 or 2019. They came in and they had the kind of forming of a really, really strong business, but wanted some support on setting up what their kind of future strategy would look like for the next few years. And then that business turned out to be the one that I'm working in now, which is Fresh Clinics. And it's super awesome to had the experience of working with the founders 4 years ago when this was, it still wasn't a thing. It was really early in its journey, to now being in the business, which has executed on effectively what that 4-year journey was going to look like and what the strategy looked like as well. And we were saying it today, 4 years ago, we were talking about what this business could look like, and we're now looking at what the next 4 to 5 years looks like as a business. So Fresh Clinics is a health technology company. We effectively provide nurses and doctors with all of the infrastructure that they need to start their own injectables business. So in Australia, if you're a nurse, you need a doctor to provide medical oversight and to provide consultations with patients so that you can actually do the injecting on those patients. You need access to products as well. You need software to manage all the patient data and your own injectables information as well. And then you need support. You need to learn. You need to build your own clinical skill set, etc. So Fresh provides all of those solutions as a clinic in a box offering to our nurses and to our doctors. And then they focus on what they're really, really good at, which is getting patients through the door and providing them with amazing treatment experience.
How close were you to picking it 4 years ago?
It's like, and this isn't my doing, this is their doing in the team and their vision, but it's almost exact, spot on. And even the tech roadmap, like we're still executing on that same roadmap that was built 4 years ago and is now finally coming to fruition as well.
Awesome.
So it's cool. I mean, to say I did the strategy is false. It was their ideas and their vision, etc. All I did was help put some structure around it and help turn it into a really clear roadmap that they executed on.
So 4 years ago, did you put a little note in your back pocket thinking, I love what these guys are doing. I think I can be back here? Or
But that was the thing. The whole reason I really enjoyed the venture building side back at Deloitte was I wanted to have a look into as many businesses as I could, because I knew when I did myself what was missing. Like I just knew that product market fit, that kind of where the market was as well. It wasn't just our solution, but the market actually was still early for what we were bringing to it as well. And I knew in my head what the ingredients were of a really successful business. And I knew that at the right time, with the right people and the right opportunity, I'd jump ship again. But I was constantly looking for that. And I was in a really privileged position. I had a purview of hundreds and hundreds of businesses that I was looking at. But these guys had all the ingredients. And so to have the opportunity to now join them and actually help them on their growth journey and bring that to life, it's a massive privilege and something I'm super excited by. I get jazzed every day thinking about it. Like, it's so rare you get a leadership team you back, two founders you back, a business that's got amazing product market fit in an industry that's booming, and you get to kind of bring it all to fruition with them. It's super exciting.
What were the metrics specifically that you knew were like a no-brainer? Like when you take the risk and actually you'd done the due diligence on it from the inside out, basically. What were those metrics, or what were those things that you thought you could have immediate impact with?
Yeah. We spent a lot of time in the last 9 months that I've been there focusing on how do we change the trajectory of growth. So the business was growing, and it's been growing for the last 4 years, but in the last 12 months or so, it had moved kind of to a more constant, not stagnant, but constant kind of growth base. So we've been focusing really on how do we accelerate clinic and nurse growth in our member base. So how do we get more members to join us? And then on top of that, how do we get members that have bigger businesses join us as well? Fresh started as the champion of the nurse entrepreneur, which it still is. So it's early nurses coming into the industry that want to start their injectables career and build an injectables clinic in the aesthetics industry. This isn't any crazy injectables. It's things to make you look aesthetically amazing.
Quick question though, have you tried one?
Have I tried?
Yeah, an injectable
product.
Yeah,
I have indeed. We have the cool thing. If you ever come to our office, Greg,
like to. We've never been invited.
We've got a training center downstairs. And it's running nonstop, and we're constantly looking for models. And I've
got a few lines here I need to pop in. I think
we could sort you out.
Excellent.
The product works. You put, I won't say a brand name, but you put anti-wrinkle in your face, and your wrinkles go away. Like there's not many products in the world that say exactly what they do on the box and deliver. I like that.
That's incredible. No wonder you joined. Is there any postcodes that you wouldn't think would be high users of the product that are, or if I'm assuming that that there's a huge amount of users in Bondi and and Bellevue Hill, would that be the number one postcode?
So there's this. So every postcode in Australia would be using some form of injectable in some format. Like the aesthetics industry is huge and it's growing. So about 20% of Australia's women have had some form of injectable in their life, and it's growing on men. It's only a couple of percent now, but it's growing really quickly. But there's like a huge spectrum of what the treatments look like. So you can go to certain areas and they have that kind of overdone look, where it's like that Kim Kardashian 5 years ago, where it's like it's really in your face. But the techniques that are coming out now are like much more natural looking and much more like face slimming, and they kind of shave ears off without it actually looking like you've had work done. And that's like the true artistry of this. Like the injectors that know how to do that and create that effect are super talented.
And do they have a following? Like are people crossing codes to go?
You jump on Instagram. Some of these nurses have 50,000 plus followers.
Wow.
And are booked out 6 months in advance. Are
they driving Lambos or these nurses? Or
I mean, this is the cool thing, and this is the other part of the reason why it's fun being in this business is they were nurses, working in hospitals, probably getting paid not that well, doing a really hard job where it is hierarchical as well within a hospital setting as well.
Yeah.
Now they're running their own businesses and they're reaping all the benefits and rewards of that as well. And that a lot of them do really, really well. It's not easy. You're still running your own business. It's not guaranteed success, but the ones that do open it and do kind of crack it are doing phenomenally well. They're doing better than I am. They're doing probably, I wouldn't guess they're doing better than you, Greg, but they're potentially doing better than you as well.
I'm sure they are. Obviously, you've sort of done some I actually wanted to ask you the question really more than anything about how you walked in the shoes of the clinic owners and the nurses.
Yep.
And how you talked a lot about customer centricity in roles.
Yep.
How did you walk in their shoes to build confidence with them, and then how did you bring that back into your business?
Yeah. So again, from my learning from startup experiences, like that customer obsession of being willing to spend time with customers, sit, marinate, and understand the issues. I went on field visits like as soon as I started. And so I spent some time with the sales team and went out and visited clinics and sat down and heard their problems and started to understand their issues, etc. And that was super enlightening. The other cool thing that happened as soon as I started, we had this conference. And so we throw a conference every year. It's called Fresh Life Conference. We have 400 of our nurses fly up to Byron for it. It's 3 days. Byron Bay changes. When Fresh Life happens, the whole demographic of Byron fundamentally changes. But that was cool because I got to be there and see, 400 nurses in there together and see how they interact. And we had all of our suppliers and partners there as well. So I got to see that dynamic as well. And I think one thing I was really lucky from kind of working in ventures is that the whole premise of that is building and launching solutions, taking them to market. And a huge component of that is the customer experience design and the design of what that proposition is or that solution. So, I've been able to kind of hone that over time of how do you build solutions, understand customer needs, and then work out how to get that product market fit to a good point as well.
And when you went out and gathered that info, and you brought it back in, were people aligned with what you found, or was there a disconnect in any way?
I probably where I've indexed a little bit more has been listening to the things that they don't say. And so like a big thing in this community is the nurses will default to their own clinical skills. So they will want to kind of develop their own clinical injector skill set, but they won't default to their like commercial business skills. And the reality is they're now business owners, and some of them have staff of 20 people that they're now managing as well. And then in 5 to 10 years, they want to move on from that business as well and sell it. So they've got to go build this whole new skill set that they haven't had before. And so we do a lot of clinical training ourselves. Our suppliers do amazing clinical training as well. But where we've shifted a lot as a business is actually focusing on their business skill set and how we help them develop their business skills as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you help them like downstream as well to target their ICP, how they go to market with, you talked about growing businesses in terms of managing structures of staff and succession planning and some of that other stuff. I guess this becomes interesting, but also how do they know and identify and market to their customers?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, this is a huge theme. So we do it. We also bring in business coaches who have built and scaled and launched their own clinics and done really well, and then are coming back and coaching in the industry. But aesthetics and injectables is getting like a little bit crowded. There's a lot of nurse injectors, and to have your own brand and to get cut through and pick who your segment is going to be. Are you focused on the plus 45-year-old women profile? Are you focused on the millennial? You focus on the up-and-comers? Do you want to focus on men, etc.? Like, who is your target segment? What's your brand profile? How do you put that out there? It's super important, and it's something we focus on. The other thing that's gotten really tricky in the aesthetics market is they're dealing with a restricted medication. Yeah. So you can't just say, hey, I'm an injector anymore and this is what I inject, and showing before and afters. Like the regulatory landscape's changed a lot, and it's really restricted. So it's quite difficult to kind of educate patients kind of end to end on what you do and how you do it. And it's and all of this has kind of changed in the last year, the reg landscape around what injectors can and can't say. So it's,
do they have to give advice on, risks and all that sort of stuff in the process? Like 89% of these procedures go well and 1.2% go badly, and this is why, and they have to step through all that sort of process.
Yeah, they have to step through that. The doctors that are involved in the consultation with the patients as well have to step through the risks as well. And I mean, the cool thing about our platform is, because it's like we're running through a platform, we're capturing more and more of when things go right, but also when things don't go right. When are there complications? So we're getting some really interesting data on, when do complications happen, why they're happening, and how you can best treat those as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then when you think about the total addressable market, you talked about it being crowded. How do you future-proof that? And how do you bring some adjacencies into your offering or your plans without you giving me the secret sauce?
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is the market's still growing at 15% in Australia and more overseas as well. And we're in the US now. So we started in Australia and we've been doing really well.
Is it California centric or is it everywhere?
We're in Texas and North Carolina. But we will hope to be in a few more states over the course of this year.
Yep.
The US, as you know, is like a big beast, and each state is its own country.
Same rules, the health rules, or different
fundamentally different. And it gets really complex from a health reg point of view, and what you can and can't do, and what our business model needs to look like. The good news is there's a lot of states that have a similar profile to the regs and setup of Australia, which is good.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I don't see there's too much challenge from a growth. Like, the good news is the market's growing. Are we thinking about kind of new offerings that we provide? Yeah, absolutely. Like that's a big focus. I mean, the technology is a big part. We've spent a lot of our kind of our money and any earnings on our tech platform. And in the last few months, we've kind of brought out a lot of new cool features. So a nurse, and this is an industry first, so it's super exciting. A nurse can look at her own clinic. She can look at how she's performing and as an injector, how she's performing, compare herself to other cohorts of similar nurses with similar experience at an injector level, but then also at a business level as well. And so that's super insightful that they can drill down at that level.
Is that kind of almost like from your point of view, like a gamification / competitive piece where they have a sense of competition between themselves as well?
A little bit, but also just illuminating like where are they up to? Because none of them know if they're doing well or not doing well, or what good looks like, and are they over-treating, under-treating? Where's their opportunity for growth? Am I mixing treatments properly to maximize kind of the value I give to my patients, but also the value that I generate for my business as well? So that's a big part of it. The other part is most of the nurses go from being really good individual injectors that then hire another injector, then they hire another injector, but they've never led a team of injectors. So the data lets them look down and drill down at an individual level and go, how's my team actually performing? Who's doing well? Who's not doing well? Who's mixing treatments? Is somebody underdosing? And so they can have much more sophisticated conversations with their team around performance, which is cool.
This is super scientific. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. I think we might just change gears just for a bit because I wanted you to have a sip of wine because you've been quite illuminating, giving us great insights. And I wanted you to give me, obviously you said it's getting better. That was your last call after your last one. You did say South Australia early.
Yeah.
Are you staying with South Australia or?
I think this is South Australian.
I think you're right. I'll give you a tick on that one. Well done.
Yep. Can I pick a region? Is that too hectic?
I'm not sure of the region. I'm saying South Australia is the region, but I think it's you say a region. I do know the region.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it McLaren Vale?
It's not McLaren Vale.
Okay. Bugger.
So we'll keep going. I'm going to tell you it's got 2 or 3 other names. The grape varietal is a Spanish grape varietal, but it's well known. In France, they use it a lot as well, and actually provides a huge tannic sort of additive to rosé.
Okay.
So give that some thought as you take the next one. Want to hear another? Are you getting any lavender? Any lavender nose or any?
I'll pay that.
Yeah, get some. I think there should be some lavender in there, but that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, some rosehip.
Rosehip. Not sure that's what you want, but that might be on the turn. Have you got any idea of its age, like a gut feel?
This is hard. This is like the hardest podcast I reckon there is. This
the outcome could be good for you.
Hot chicken wings coming out.
Hot chicken, I know exactly. I'm sorry to put you under the pump here, but the outcome, like if you get it, it's going to be pretty impressive, I think.
I just choked on it.
You choked on water, please.
Okay, so I'm going to go late teens.
Late teens, not bad. It's 2010.
Okay,
so it's had 14 years in that bottle so far.
I think everyone on the podcast needs to respect that. Like Greg has a cracking cellar.
Okay, so, I do. My cellar is okay.
I need to up my game on all expectations.
And I will send you a bottle of this for you to awesome. Have at home and crack. It probably needs to be drunk pretty quickly. Tell me a little bit about culture and and also mission.
Yeah.
And how important was that when you got there? Like, was it a thing that people sort of lived up to? And did you ever have to hold anyone up to account in terms of values, culture, mission, and what you were expected of the team?
Yeah. So I was super nervous coming into the business about kind of what I was stepping into. I mean, I knew the founders really well, and I knew their culture, and I knew who they were as individuals, and I knew what they wanted to build as a business, and I knew they were good humans that were kind of building something really exciting. But I had my own culture. I'd been in my own team for 12 years, and I'd helped build it. And
what is your own culture then? How do you how do you define your culture, which is you?
I mean, that's a really hard question to answer, but I think for me is like there's a level of hunger and humility in kind of what you're doing. You get excitement and enjoyment from like a team outcome, not so much just an individual outcome. And you kind of care about each other and give a shit about other people's growth and development as well. But underlying that is like real performance. You want to be the best at whatever you're doing, and you want to do the best work of whatever opportunity you have in front of you.
Totally.
And so that that's something that I aspired to, and hopefully I contributed to in the different roles and teams that I'd helped build previously. And that's what I wanted to see in Fresh when I came in. And the cool thing was it was there. And it was there in spades. And I don't think I've actually changed the culture at Fresh. I think I've potentially added a bit to it, but I think it was all there. Like people were hungry, they were working hard, they were kind of hustling to make the business super successful as well. Have we put more like performance frameworks around the business coming in? Like, yes, we're definitely more kind of outcomes focused, I think, than what we were before. But that's to its benefit. I don't think that changed the culture. I mean, the cool thing about Fresh when I came in, it was a bit of a weird one. I'd never used Google Hangs before. I don't know if you use it.
No, I try not to.
Yeah. So like Google Hangs and the emojis on Google Hangs is like out of control. So my first day in Fresh, you're kind of there and you're having this meeting, and these like emojis just start popping on the screen, and they like, when you get enough firing, then they start bursting as well. Wow. So like love hearts or clapping or whatever it is. And I thought I was getting trolled. Like when I first came, I was like, who's doing all these emojis and why are they all firing on the screen? But that's part of our culture as well. Everyone is like engaging and contributing and like feeling the vibe. So that's really exciting. The founders are fundamentally responsible for that. They're two super kind of compassionate, good humans that want to do good by their team, build a sustainable business, and support the community of nurses that we've brought on the journey with us as well. And it's cool being able to contribute to that.
Sounds awesome. It sounds like a great decision for you and the founders. Do you guys take the time out of the working day, because everyone's working hard, to go out and think? Do you have time to think? That's one of the things that I think everyone is challenged with, is like force yourself to step out of the day-to-day and the grind, to get outside for a day a month with the team and make some decisions and have some thoughts about planning and things like that.
We're getting better. I mean, ironically, at the moment, it's kind of, it follows itself around our overseas trips. And so in LA, helping set up the US business more recently, went to Las Vegas to AmSpa, which is an experience, the biggest cosmetic conference in the world in Las Vegas.
Highlights?
Yeah, I won't go into it. But yeah, I think that's when it's the actual travel time that you're spending together where you actually get to kind of think and kind of talk. But like the weird thing is we are constantly, I think what's different for me is I worked in strategy. So I worked in corporate strategy, where strategy was obviously a thinking process, but you're also producing an output, which is the strategy, and it's a pack of 100 slides or whatever it is, and that's the strategy for the business. The cool thing about stepping into the startup world is we're constantly doing strategy every single day. We're assessing opportunities, we're making choices, we're setting up plans, but we don't need to turn it into a pack of 100 slides to kind of convey that, because you've got the individuals that have the context and the knowledge and the body of work to support a decision, and you can make it at that point in time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Tell me about customer experience. Obviously customer experience is super important in this, and you're streamlining this in a massive way.
Yep.
What does good look like? And, do you, actually I'll ask you that question rather than asking a double barrel one. Let's ask you that one. What does good look like? Do you sort of have a North Star on what you'd want to be if you're not there?
Yeah. I inherited a lot of the good stuff that Fresh already had.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably start more with the proposition, what is the offering and solution, and then what's the experience you wrap around that as well. The offering is really good, and I won't go into it, but I think you're at a sweet spot with a proposition or a solution when the customer goes, "What's the catch?"
Yeah.
And we get that a lot. You explain what the offering is, the solution, what they're getting as a package, and they go, "Okay, but what's the catch?" The customer's experience and solution side. This was another weird thing that I didn't know existed until I was about 1 month into the business. So we have these WhatsApp groups with our customers or our members, and we have one for each state, and then we have others as well for different kind of more unique groups as well. I didn't know they existed, and we've got
so these like a community in essence.
Yeah, community. Yeah. It's like your Facebook community on steroids.
Yeah.
Our New South Wales one has north of 600 nurses on it. So it's they're big communities. But in those communities, the nurses are asking for everything from, "Hey, my order is missing or late," or "Where can I get training for X?" or "Hey, I've potentially got this patient that's got X. How would you recommend treating," etc. They get answered almost instantaneously from
by the community without you guys getting involved.
By the community, and then from different parts of our business as well.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So if it's clinical, our clinical team is responding really quickly. If it's order based, it's going to our team who looks after customer service and ordering. And I looked at it and I was like, this is insane. I don't know a single business I've ever experienced where you almost get instantaneous responses to every customer issue that you have.
Yeah.
Which is super
collegiate
cool.
As well. It's super great.
And it's self-serve as well. Yeah. So then the other nurses are answering questions as well, which is really cool. Where they're, nurses are asking questions around what products should they introduce, what equipment should they buy, how they can advertise, and it's getting self-served by the community as well. But then when there's anything specific that our business needs to solve for, the team is on it. It's very different to your telco services that probably everyone's experienced.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Tell us about AI. It's the question that everyone's talking about. Have you applied AI to your business? What impact could that make? Is that something that's a thought bubble? Is it something that you're kicking around, or are there any use cases that you've actually driven to an outcome yet?
Yeah. We're using it. Interestingly, we had a lunch and learn on it yesterday, and our tech team presented on how they're using AI in their own world. I think we're doing the generic stuff that everyone's doing. We're using it for content production, for blogs and other things like that. And the account managers are starting to use it for email production. So teams are starting to use it as an enhancer to their day-to-day. And we're seeing that in tech as well. So the tech team's starting to use it for code production and things like that. Where we're starting to lean in more is AI, using AI to generate insights for our nurses and what they can do to do the next step, either for their business or potentially from a treatment point of view in the future as well. But the first one's on their business. So using AI to look at kind of their own kind of profile of their business, where there's opportunities to improve. As an example, if they've got kind of an X number of patients that haven't been engaged for a certain period of time, how can they go re-engage those patients as well, and what could that look like? So starting to serve more smart prompts using the awesome data that they have already, but putting it to work for them. Because I think that's the challenge. There's so much data in this industry, and it's such an archaic industry, and you'll find this in so many medical spaces. There's a lot of good data that's being captured, but no one's putting it to work. And I think that's probably where we see the biggest uplift opportunity for AI.
Very good. I'm going to ask you about your tech stack in a minute, but I need you to have another sip of wine. Yeah, I need you to come up with a proper answer.
Yeah.
You're sort of pussyfooting around things here, and you haven't really given me a.
I know.
You've said
South Australia.
McLaren Vale. I'm saying Barossa. It might help you.
Yeah.
I've told you it's a tannic, high acidity, grape varietal.
So like, I don't want to say obvious things though, because I think it's definitely not. And you said it was Spanish variety.
It's a Spanish. It originally came from Spain. It's a cutting from Spain, I think.
Yeah. So it's not a Shiraz.
It's not a Shiraz.
Yeah, I thought so.
No. But often blended with Shiraz, if that helps.
Oh.
Come back to you.
Yeah.
Tell us about, obviously, as part of your strategy piece, you always had an eye on technology and the stack and things like that.
Yeah.
Have you reinvented that in any way, or is that something? I know you guys used HubSpot. You seem very proficient with that.
Yep.
How did you build on those? Pretty good. Feels like it was a good platform.
Yeah, so we're adding. I won't say all the names, just because like part of it is the special sauce of how the configuration, all of those things.
Is that
no, but I will definitely talk about it, because I think. So we're adding something at the moment that will fundamentally change our onboarding. It's quite complex to onboard as a clinic or a nurse, just in terms of like the medical hurdles that they need to go through. There's documentation, etc. So we're adding something to our tech stack that will change that. Not to plug you guys, but you guys are a big part of it. Like Pendula, we've brought in, and the reason we brought it in is quite cool. But our nurses are always on their phones. I mean, that's how they run their businesses.
Yep.
They engage with our doctors through their phones. They buy product through their phones. They do training, consultations, a whole range of other things through their phones as well. They're managing their patient bookings, etc. And so the natural medium for us to engage with them was through their phones as well, and through mobile, SMS, etc. And so having something that's more sophisticated and able to serve them the right content at the right time based on where they're up to the journey, and make that more dynamic than just a simple push is really powerful for us as well. And I think that's like the critical point is they get served so much information as well. We're a good partner to them, but they're obviously engaging with our suppliers who are feeding them information. They're getting information from their own peers as well. And so being able to feed the right information at the right time to help them make a decision is like critical. And that's why being able to build, really sophisticated workflows and conversational flows based on their needs, that is understanding kind of where they are to the journey, is really important. And so that's why we brought you guys and plugged you into the platform. And I mean, like, we're probably scratching the surface of what we can do with that. We're keen to take it a lot further.
That's cool. Thanks for saying that. I wasn't seeking a plug there, but that's awesome. Great to see technology being a great sort of opportunity for you to drive more value, and obviously the mobility aspect of it's super critical for your clients. So what's next for you guys? Like, obviously you talked about adjacencies. Can you go to more markets?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure you're getting your head around America.
Yeah.
What happens in some of those, other affluent countries, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Japan, I'm thinking China.
Yeah.
Is that something you could execute on there? Is that a plan?
So there's three big-ish things we're working on at the moment. So one is, we're doing really well in Australia, but there's more room for growth, significantly more room for growth. We've kind of focused more on like the new nurse to the industry or the new doctor. The reality is most of our members now are much more mature, and they're running some of the most successful clinics in Australia. And we've proven that we can continue to help them. So our big focus is on how do we continue to evolve and service a broader segment within the market in Australia and continue to grow there. The tech is huge for us, and we're getting really close to building kind of what we feel is an end-to-end solution, which we think will change the industry as well. There's a lot of cool tech from adjacent industries, but no, there's not a lot that are specifically focused on aesthetics, and it is unique. And when you start stitching together the different parts of aesthetics together, you get really, really powerful solutions that all talk to each other as well.
Yeah.
And that's going to unlock a huge amount of value. So we're super excited by that.
Do you guys seek information or get, get feeds from external data sources as part of this? Like maybe it's for Medicare, or maybe it's for health benefits, or maybe it's for something like that helps streamline processes. Does that happen today?
We don't specifically need it. We do get certain data feeds of like nurse registrations and things like that to make sure that like our members like
current in there.
Yeah, correct. Are all current and compliant.
Yeah.
We don't do as much on the patient side. The patient side is typically managed by the nurses themselves. And then the third part of like the big focus for growth for us is definitely overseas. And so we're in the US with like barely scratching the surface of what's possible, and that's going to be like a multi-year journey to get that right. But the reality is the whole world wants to look their best, and every market uses these products. And in every market, there's doctors and nurses doing injecting that want good tech that's going to help them run their business, and support from doctors and medical support to help them be compliant and operate safely. So like it is a huge opportunity, and we're super early. And the exciting part is Australia isn't early in a lot of industries, but it was early in aesthetics in terms of the structure of the market. Why do you reckon? I think partly was due to the chains. Like we had certain chains that grew much faster and got much bigger than other countries. Like Laser Clinics Australia grew much bigger and is arguably one of the biggest chains in the world. And that meant it pumped out and trained a lot of nurses and doctors in this industry as well. So because of that, we just have a really like buoyant industry of a lot of people that are trained and qualified to do this type of work. But yeah, Australia was early, which means, you know, we're really lucky. It's similar to, you know, I did work in mining, and there's not many industries where Australia is really, really good, but you know, we are shit hot at digging stuff up and shipping it overseas. And I think interestingly, aesthetics is similar. It was an industry that kind of evolved really quickly, but Australia evolved really quickly within it as well. And now we're seeing that wave hit other countries as well. And fortunately, we've done a lot of our growing up in Australia, and we're ready to go after those other markets as well.
And that's such an impressive story, and you know, congratulations on the work you've done so far. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I've got to guess it now, don't I?
You're not off the. Yeah, now you were so impressive in that piece. I have to belittle you with you may not be able to get the wine, but let's have a go. So it's red.
I know it's red. So it's like, and I know it's not as heavy as like a cab.
Yeah, it's not a cab.
It's not a cab.
Yeah. So what are you thinking? Like, have you ever heard of a GSM?
Yeah.
So what's in a GSM?
Grenache. Is it?
Yeah. Grenache, Shiraz, and
Merlot.
Mataro.
Oh, Mataro.
This is a Mataro.
It's a Mataro.
It's a Mataro,
okay.
which is the varietal that we talked about. So it's a bit of a tricky one. I didn't give you an easy one.
Come on.
I didn't give you an easy one, but
going to be like a good, like fun hangout. Here's a Barossa Shiraz. Well done, Rob. Aren't you?
Aren't you a legend?
Look, Mataro from Barossa.
I can't give it to you too easy. 2010. Areas for improvement, isn't it? It's areas for improvement. But anyway, I hope you like it. I think it's an interesting wine. We tried it in Penfolds a couple of weeks ago. It's Penfolds.
Wow.
And I thought it was drinking well.
It's delightful.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nice drink. I get those floral notes.
Prepared all these like funny analogies about describing wine on the way here.
Give me a couple just before we finish.
It's going to be like, you know, this plum, it's abandoned, left school at like 16, it's had a hard knocks, and like just try to like kind of hone in on that.
Well, I mean, obviously the ones that I use umami a lot in mine.
Yeah, that's good.
I think umami sort of covers off on that, you know, the umami taste.
Yeah.
What else? Sea spray minerality gets a good run. I'm sure there's others, but I don't want to steal them all, because I hope this is only the first one of our podcasts. So I don't want to steal too many more of them. Yeah. But thanks so much for joining us, mate. It was great to hear your story. You're going from strength to strength. So
thank you for having me.
Really appreciate you coming along.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.
All right. Cheers.